It is April 25th. A new Global Labs patch just dropped, and we are going to go through it with you in as least amount of time as possible. So going through, a lot of this content has already been covered in the dev updates video that I posted a brief summary of. But we're going to continue with the class changes. Really, across the board, everybody's getting, for the most part, buffed on PvE and nerfed a little bit on PvP for balance. Going to start out with Sork. We're looking at about a 10% increase in PvE damage, give or take, across the board, and a slight 10% reduction in PvP damage. Getting onto the Zerk. Zerk's cooldowns and flows have been changed minimally. If you play a Zerk, you should, pay attention to your specific attacks and your rotation. You're going to see, for instance, rock pushing. The cooldown of the skill has been changed from 4.5 to 6. You shouldn't feel that a lot. Your muscle memory will at the very beginning, but really what you're going to see is about a 20% increase in PvE damage, which is great, between 10 and 20, and about a 10% reduction in PvP damage. So for those of you who grind on Zerk, it's about to get better. If you're looking down through the skills, Predator Hunt, 3,300 to 5,000, that's huge. 6,000 to 8,500, that's easily a 20% increase. Not all of the PvP damages were reduced, so as you can see, Predator Hunt as well stays the same. The other ones are only about a 10% adjustment. So we get down, reduction in cooldown on Strike of the Colossus, as well as Ancient Waves. And here we see the damage reflected. I don't know, what's that, about a 10, 20, 15% increase in PvE damage and about a 10% reduction in PvP. So Zerk, all in all, minimal changes, but you are going to see improvements to your grind. Excuse the translation. I'm not sure if this is the Lan or a different class. I could just switch around all my classes and kind of see, but for the most part, you guys will know the class and the translation. I believe this might be the Lan. Leaf shedding. I don't play my Lan very much, so if it is, for the most part, this class is going to be looking at added magic attack damage. Let's see. Added magic attack damage, slight cooldown reduction, and about a 15% increase in PvE damage. Very slight PvP nerf. Now 62 to 74 is 20%, 50 to 72, 67 to 73. Some of these PvE damages were not, the first strike wasn't adjusted, but the second strike was. So you're going to see nominal changes. The Plum actually might be the Lan now that I look at it. I don't know. One's the Plum and one's the Geumsu Rang. So if you guys know the translation, feel free to correct me. Red Moon, Blooming, Fallen, and Snowball, Red Wind. About a 10% increase in PvE damage. Slight reduction in PvP damage, 2%. Not many changes here. Once again, even the devs said their purpose for the class balances were not to cause people to completely re-roll, but just to make, adjustments, making sure everybody had a very similar PvE experience, but then also making sure no one class was OP with PvP. All attack damage gains and the skill have been changed from 30 for 10 seconds. And looks like cooldowns have been adjusted. PvE damage stayed the same, and a little bit of a nerf in the Black Spirit there. So Velk sees a reduction in cooldowns slightly, 12 to 10, 15 to 13. Seen about a 20% increase in PvE damage on that skill, 10%, 20%, 10%, slight reduction in PvP. So Velk, not quite the Velk train it used to be, but you will see an increase in your grind. Wizards and Witch were interesting, and as I read through this, It seems like what they're going to try to do is make more of a difference between the Wizard and Witch. Witch is going to have reduced cooldown, Wizard's going to have higher alpha damage. So if we scroll down through here, and feel free, pull these notes up, read them, yourself. Make sure that I'm giving the good gist of the information for you. It might affect your grind or your playstyle differently than somebody else's. But what they're talking about here is for like Meteor Drop, Earthquake, the cooldown's going to double, but so will the damage. They're talking about when you use the technology or the skill with the Witch, you're looking at a reduced cooldown but reduced damage. So, this might drastically change how you use your Wizard Witch. This is where it says right here, for Wizard and Witch, they share the same skills with only minor differences. This limited how distinct the two classes are. With this update, we've changed Wizard Succession by increasing the cooldowns, but boosting the damage, and we've adjusted the cooldown reduction for Tier 3 magic when using elemental skills, making the main Tier 3 magic vary based on your skill focus. So, there's going to be a larger difference between Succession and Awakening and Wizard and Witch now. If we go down through here, and this is all, 20% increase in cast speed for 10 seconds. These are all the add-ons, basically. Cast speed bonus has been changed from 10 to 20%. Cooldown has gone, very nominal changes on that. Where we're going to see it now is when we get down here. So you're looking at 3,700 to 5,200% damage, 2,000 to 6,000, 6,300 to 7,600. You're also going to get the corresponding decrease in PvP damage, and these are the Awakening, and then here's the Succession. So this is where you go from a 2-second cooldown to a 6-second cooldown on fire. Land is 1 second to 6 seconds. Lightning is 6 and 2 down to 4 and 6. Ice is 4 and 2 to 2 and 5. So you're going to be seeing more alpha damage, but your cooldown might be double or triple what your muscle memory is used to. But that same Earthquake skill, let's see, used to do 11,000% times 2. Now it's going to do 15,000% times 2. So you're going to be not quite doubling the damage, but you're going to be getting, a 50% increase, a 40% increase in damage. It's going to be interesting to see how this shakes out. I know there's a lot of Wizard Witches because they're S tier for grinding, and I'm really going to be interested to see how this, and when we get to it, the Nova skill changes, because the Nova has huge changes coming up. We'll get to that in a minute. As we continue down with the Witch, technology's cooldown has changed from 11 to 10, so slight reduction in cooldowns, about a 20% increase in PvE damage, and about a 10% decrease in PvP damage. And then we get to the Striker. Striker, you're seeing tweaks, not changes. Tweaks are, slightly less cooldowns, some increased counters for effects. You're looking at about a 10% increase in PvE and, maybe a 5% reduction in PvP. So, not really huge groundbreaking changes like the Witch, Wizard, or Nova. So if you're playing Striker, you're going to be pretty comfortable. You may just have to adjust a little few things. You might actually have a faster grind, more, loot per hour, whatever. And same thing as you go down through all these skills, it's pretty congruent across the board. Now Nova. This is talking about how they wanted the Nova to be a very movable or, very mobile class that hits and then gets out. We saw this, I mean, the Nova really has played as a tankier version of the Dark Knight. That's one reason why I've appreciated her. When my Dark Knight sometimes feels a little squishy, I could just switch gear, tag the Nova, switch over, and I have a little more tank, a little less alpha damage, that's true, but I appreciate how the Nova plays. What this is saying is, Nova Awakening was adjusted to reinforce the character's characteristics, which shows explosive movement in very fast speeds through a singular breaking technique, which is characterized by the sickle and the 3-point shape, which is the sickle and the scythe, I believe it was. or no, Rapier, excuse me, yes. Scythe and Rapier. So what this is doing is I feel, as I've read down through this before I actually started recording, that they're reducing the AoE overall for the Nova. They're changing some of the super armors and frontal guards to actually give more health regen upon attacking. And so you're going to get in, hit hard, regen yourself, and get out. So it's going to be a hit and run class or a guerrilla hit and run. Um, this, and as you'll see as we scroll down, there is a large section of these patches dedicated to the Nova, so they are changing a lot. So if you main Nova, you're going to want to take the time to actually go through this one by one and see how it feels. I don't think that I'm going to do it justice by just saying I think this or I think that. I think this is something where we're going to have to get on with the Nova and play around with it and see what feels different and what this means for the Nova. But as we look down through, I mean, you're getting super armor during Royal Fencing. You know, you're losing the down strike. Your cooldown's going a little higher. Your range of attacks on the technology has been reduced, and I don't know if that means there's a less of an AoE or a less of a movement to where you'll be able to kind of go into somebody. So that's is yet to be seen. You're getting health recovery per strike on Royal Fencing Kite. You're losing super armor on both of these. You're also losing super armor on acceleration. You're losing, let's see, I think it was down here. Okay, so you're not losing super armor or anything down here. It's the range of attacks has been reduced on all of these. And you're getting down attack on some that and that you didn't have it before. You're getting stiffness on the ones that used to have down attack, and they're losing down attack. So they really are changing the Nova's kit quite a bit. Yeah, these are all looking at a range of attacks of the skill has been reduced, and I'm assuming that means, like with the Nova is really good at like really quickly, instantly closing the gap between you and your opponent and being able to attack. So I think that's going to be reduced, so you won't be able to travel instantly, you know, halfway across the screen. Once again, as you play your Nova, there's a lot of changes, so pay special attention to if you play a Nova main, it's going to behoove you to get onto these the patch notes, read through them, go to Battle Arena, go to RBF, play around with it. This might significantly affect your grind. What we're seeing is, you know, there is health recovery on a lot of these skills that didn't used to have it. Armor decrease duration change from 5 to 10 seconds, so you have, you know, quite a bit more skill effects added on or changed around. And as we see on some of these skills, they're also, I mean, like for instance, Orbital right now, stamina consumption changed from 150 to 100, cooldown is changed from 1 to 2 seconds, changed to allow you to cast a skill during cooldown. So you'll be able to, you know, less stamina consumption, less, I'm thinking it's going to be less AoE, but more focused. The other thing with the Nova is with the PvE damage, you're looking at a 15 to 20, maybe sometimes even a 25% increase in PvE damage, but you're also looking at a 10 to 20% decrease in PvP damage. So what that tells me is they're expecting the Nova to hit quite a bit harder on single targets, and they're anticipating people being able to hit pretty hard in PvP situations. So that's something that we're going to definitely have to play around with. I mean, look at star shards from 6,900% to 10,000%. You know, this class is going to be potentially a really good grind class now, whereas I didn't really grind with my Nova before. But I really would be interested to hear any of your guys' thoughts. Once this patch goes live, jump on your Nova, see how it feels, see what changed, and, you know, give me your impressions. Possibly coming in the future, maybe we'll even play with a Nova and make a video on it and go through it. Because I do enjoy playing my Nova. Like I said, originally she played like a tankier version of the Dark Knight. So going on to the Drac, not many changes. Just, you know, a little bit of PvE buffs on 2 of her skills. And the big change right here is decreased PvP damage for the Mark Tenen's Fangs and the Soaring Claws from 30 to 68% and from 30 to 75%. A lot less damage for those 2 skills in PvP situations. So if you play your Drac and you do PvP and you're used to using those 2 skills to kind of just smack people around, that's not going to happen very much. Class modifications, not much going on here. Blood color canine skill was not applied when using X. Nova fixed the phenomena where the description of the snowbone frost technique had an explanation. Okay, and in my previous video, if you watched it, you'll know about this. If you haven't, this is going to be new to you. They are going to be allowing us to have a crew doing auto fishing off of your Karak when it's in movement. So this is going to be a skill listed under the suggested, under the Great Expedition. It's going to be called Otter Barterer. It's going to be super easy. You just do the quest, you talk to Creo, use Crow coins to buy the fishing rod for your Karak. You're going to equip it in the Sailor UI. This is the fishing rod. And it's going to be equipped in the Sailor UI. And it's going to auto fish with a fixed rate of prize fish, 1%. And it only fishes while you're moving. So if you're just sitting still, Creo's not going to fish, but you're going to get him as a fisherman right here on the back of your Karak. So this way, when you're doing your sailing dailies or you're doing your sea monster hunting, you can catch fish too. The fish is automatically going to go into your inventory on your persons or in your Miraculous Fish Tank if you have that, not in the boat. So keep an eye on that. Majority crew fishing rules. Fishing is carried out every 180 seconds. Fishing for a felony is the only time when fishing does not pass. So this is basically what I was saying. When it's stopped, it doesn't fish. You'll see that little blue icon when he's fishing. Goes in your character's bag. It's at a fixed rate. Okay, I covered all that. And I'm assuming it's going to repair just when you go to your wharf manager and hit repair, but we'll see. Weekly fishing tournament. This is big news. It's going to become permanent. It's not going to be just an event, as well as they're increasing the number of winners from 100 to 300. I know myself, there's been a lot of people fishing, and I've struggled to get in the top 100. Now they're going to pay out for the top 300. They're also going to increase the rewards. So, for instance, first place is going to get the golden box that holds the waves, 50, maybe black crystals or condensed horsepower. I'm going to say maybe sharps or concentrateds. We'll see. Probably concentrated black crystals. Balix lunch boxes, 20 amazing or magnificent ones. 20 essence of the waves, 3 signs of the waves, and gold bars, which will be 3 billion silver. And then it goes on. You also get the permanent title of the biggest, and it says OO, but it's like finish the largest tuna or whatever. So it's the color is paid in blue, which is the basic color. As you scroll down through here, though, you'll see if you get, you're going to get 1 billion silver just for placing in the top 300, which is for fantastic. But the sign of the wave item that you saw that you get if you're placed 3rd, 2nd, or 1st, you could start turning them in for a permanent One of the Fishermen title that is in a sky blue color, so it is a colored title. Pink statue or pink dolphin statue or a statue of Mikalu. And so also gold bars you can get if you've got all 3 of those. It'll be in the currency tab or the currency bank up top, and you'll see the color of the title. I know it's not the preferred colored, but it is a colored title. So there's the pink dolphin statue and the figurine of Mikalu. The elixir of the waves, 3 new elixirs for fishing are going to be added. Elixir of the waves, elixir of the blue waves, and entity of dark waves of lies. They give experience of fishing plus 20%, fishing proficiency plus 50%, and I believe this fishing potential plus 2nd stage refers to, it gives you an increase in your fishing, level 1 through 5 for your auto fishing. It also might just be a bad translation, and it might mean that you have a better opportunity to catch a bigger fish. We'll have to see when it goes live, or those of you who are better at translating or have better translating programs, let me know. If you make this stuff, it will sell for between 6 and 25 million silver. The elixir of the blue waves, same thing but double duration from 180 minutes to 360. And then the Elixir of the Deep Blue is for 600 minutes, so 10 hours, so 3 levels of fishing potential. Yeah, I believe that when you hit your P and you hit your fishing, so that's going to just increase your AFK fishing speed. But those are going to sell for 150 million apiece, so you use the one in the number of waves and elixirs of the waves. So that is going to be up here, maybe these 3 waves of water that you get while fishing. If you place in the top 300, you would use those to make these. We'll have to see. The fish that are the selected as the target species are the treasure, the reds, the golds, and the blues. I will continue posting my updates of the locations for all the fish for every week when it drops on Sunday. And the way in the Guild League's transfer is recorded has changed. This record is for players entering the Guild League. 100 potential headers have been changed to be exchanged for box items when the header armor is exchanged. Bad translation. I don't know if that means maybe the Nuver armor. You're in the title of the Nuver armor. This right here is the big one. This is as loyalty has been reorganized. The loyalty that you have collected has been changed. And on April 30th, the existing loyalty will be deleted during the regular maintenance. So I believe that's what that's saying, but even if so, we do know that your loyalty is going to be reset on April 30th. So they changed the description of the crew sailor contracts. Monsters, let's see, there's some changes in some knowledge for if you go down through this. So if you're a knowledge collector, you might want to look for that. UI is kind of big. So this is where they're going to be making the first changes with the stat UI stat display. Excuse me, I have trouble speaking. So you're going to be able to toggle the display for your APDP using that little gear sprocket there, and it's going to either give you your traditional gear score or your final APDP with all of your buffs going. So for instance, you'll see here, the gear score here is 351, 429, and then if you look to the right, it's 992, 633. This will sync with the Monster Zone info. So if you're looking to grind at a specific area, you can then say, okay, is my AP high enough? This will also sync with the extra damage to monsters and Camasylvia and demi-humans and humans eventually. This is the first iteration. They're tweaking the My Stats window and the Gear Stats window so that this will be much more user-friendly. So this is definitely a good thing. This right here is saying that you'll be able to, let's see, well, the lock button, you can press the arrow button and drag. Oh, you'll be able to move the chat windows and change them around without having to go into Edit UI. And where was it? I thought I read it down here. We might still get to it. In the base occupied result window, the family name of the adventurer who retrieved first second has been improved. They're changing the icons of the Life Guild missions. And here it is. You'll be able to use Magnus when in party. Woohoo! So those of you who create parties or join parties or platoons, you'll be able to use the Magnus now. I've been waiting for that for a while. Fixed match to be canceled when replaying during Solar. Improved the update speed of the screen with setting long distance. And within the guild matter, it was changed so that the guild cannot be disbanded. Okay. And then that is, these are all just little tweaks and stuff. That's about it. So those are the updates that just posted on a Global Labs. Look for them in the next week or two on NAEU. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or corrections, feel free to put them here on the comments. I respond to every one of them. Hit me up in Discord on the socials, and make sure to like and subscribe. Thank you very much, and have a great day.